Hello everyone, it's Tana. Welcome back to my channel and another video for the Rabbit Hole Designs. Today I have the Christmas in July 2022 release and we've got a lot, so let's get started. We have the one-line reindeer stamp set, the one-line holly stamp set, the one-line snow person stamp set, Clarence Believes stamp set, and I'll read you some of these sentiments once we get started here. The Clarence Christmas stamp set, and Clarence is a cute little elf doing 3 different things. The Bunny Christmas stamp set. This one is by far the largest stamp set in the release. So 3 large cute images and a lot of sentiments. We have the Retro Christmas paper pack, and I have one each of each type of Christmas paper in each color scheme. So we have like a blue and teal, traditional red and green with like a brownish black, and then we have a brighter green and pinkish red. Then we have the first ever layering stencil for the Rabbit Hole Designs, the Mid-Century Modern. Now these are each labeled stencil number 1, 2, 3, but they also say top in the top right hand corner, and that's how you have to line them up when you are layering them to make them work properly. So 1, 2, and 3 are the layering design, and then stencil number 4 has all the dots from stencils 2 and 3. So if you prefer to use them all together instead of separately, you can do so. Here's a look at the release in its entirety. Today we're working with the one-line stamp sets, and we're creating 4 cards, so let's get started. So today I'm concentrating on the one-line stamp sets. So I'm going to do 3 cards today with you guys, and while you're watching me ink blend this panel here, and I have the colors listed on the screen for you, I'm going to read you some of these sentiments. So in the Clarence Christmas, we have 3 of Clarence as a cute little elf, building a snow squirrel, holding a wreath, riding a little choo-choo train. And the sentiments are joy to the squirrel, and what's that sound? Do you hear it? It's a funny squeaky sound. If that sounds familiar to you, put it in the comments below. Let me know what you think it's from. And then we have the sentiment from Clarence Believes. And in that one, it says, may you never stop believing. So now I have here, shake, shake, oops. I dropped my shimmer spray there in the box. I saved you the pain of having me ink blend a green panel as well. I did it the same way. I believe I put the colors up on the screen for you guys, but if I did not, it was Lime Ricky, Grass Skirt, and I'm pretty sure Deck the Halls were the colors I used on the green panel. And now we are going to do some heat embossing, stamping and heat embossing, and I'm going to cover those panels really well with my powder tool. And while you're watching me do that, I'm going to read the sentiments from the Bunny Christmas stamp set. There's no place like home for the holidays. May the gifts of love, peace, and happiness be yours this Christmas. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Peace on Earth, Jolly Holidays to you and yours. Ampersand, and then we have to you, and then also Happy New Year. Now, I want to say here, I had originally intended on doing gold on the red panel and silver on the green panel, and I ended up accidentally reversing them without even thinking about it. And I did not want to do 2 heat emboss panels with gold. I should have, because I think the gold would have looked a lot prettier on the red panel, but it still turned out nice. Red and gold I like better together when it comes to Christmas. Moving on, I cut out both images, making sure I still had a lot of the inked panel with an oval die from my stash. And now I'm cutting out pieces of the pattern paper with my rounded rectangle dies from my stash, putting them on card bases. Now, you can't tell from the video, but the one with the pine cones and the leafy, Christmassy, what do you call that, flora or plants, is a dark green card base, and then we have a red card base for the other one. And then I put some sequins on there to embellish, and that's it. 2 simple cards done right off the bat. I wanted to do something a little different with my snow person, my one-line snow person. And I've seen a lot of videos lately where people use brayers. I have had this sprayer in my stash probably since I started making cards, and I've only used it once. So I brought out my colors of ink here, and I was trying to match up the colors with the teal and red pattern paper, and added in some black because there is some black in the pattern paper as well. I cannot speak today, guys, and look at that. Every time I washed off my brayer, the red ink seeped through onto my hands. And I just did my panel. I wanted it to look kind of artsy and modern, and I don't know the proper verbiage for that, so you guys can let me know down in the comments below if you do. But I wanted to use pattern paper as well. So I kind of measured out where I wanted my snow person to be, and then I marked with my T-square ruler a line on my pattern paper so I can cut it with my trimmer. And now I drew a pencil line where I wanted it to be, so I know where the paper is going and where I have to stamp out my image. Really can't talk today, guys. So we're going to heat emboss him in super fine bright white embossing powder from WOW. And I think he turned out really cool. I think he looks really cool on that background panel. So once he is heat set and cooled off, I'll wipe that powder off of the panel. Added some powder to my black cardstock there. And we're going to heat emboss both sentiments from that one-line stamp set, which I believe are Warm Wishes and From Your Flaky Friend. And then we'll wipe off the excess powder on that as well. And I use the same embossing powder for the sentiments as I did for my snow person. So now I have a piece of this Scarlet Organza, I believe it's called, satin effect mirrored cardstock, popped up on foam tape. I'm going to balance that out right across the white line from the image. And then we're going to pop up the pattern paper on foam tape as well. And you see I stopped my foam tape at a certain point because I want it to overlap my red stripe. Only want a little bit showing there. Once I have that all dry, I'll trim that down. And I'll place it on a black card base. And now I'm adding some black pearl, half pearl embellishments for his eyes and his buttons on his body. I added a few down on the pattern paper as well. Some blue ones in the center of the snowflakes. Now I'm placing my sentiments on there with a T-square, Warm Wishes. And inside it will say, From Your Flaky Friend, which I separated before I put it on the inside of the card. So that's it for that card, guys. And I forgot there's a bonus fourth card, you guys. A lot of cards lately, huh? So I took the one-line holly stamp set and I traced them out onto a 8.5 by 4 slimline panel, but that does get trimmed down just slightly. I believe it ends up being like 3 3/4 by 8 1/4. And I very carefully fussy cut all of those pieces out. But before I did, you saw me go in with the X-Acto blade and make an X through. It makes it a little bit easier to fussy cut in and out of those little areas. I went over my panel with my sand eraser to get rid of any extra pencil marks. And now I'm just going over all the edges with a black permanent marker. And I have the Sparkling Berry and Pucker Up by Catherine Pooler. That is what I ink blended my panel with because we are going to use pattern paper behind it from the pink and lime green section of the pattern paper. And I'm pulling out my stencil butter here in 2 colors that match, and I believe there's chartreuse and fuchsia, which match the pattern paper perfectly. And I'm going to go in with the layering stencil here. And I'm just going to do the first 2 layers. So I'm going to use the fuchsia on the snowflake looking stencil. This stuff, man, I know why they call it stencil butter now, because it blends like butter. It really just lays right on there, super easy. It doesn't stick to anything. Really nice to work with. Didn't really take 2 hours. I think I waited about 15-20 minutes. Went back in, lined up the stencil so that it was overlapping what I already did, which lined up perfect. And then stencil paste, or use the stencil butter on the rest. And as with anything, you want to make sure you clean off your stencil and your knife and everything right away, your palette knife. So now I'm figuring out where I had the first stencil lined up, because even though it says top, I of course am not using the top right corner to line up my stencil. So I made myself aware of the marks on my glass board and that piece of cardstock up at the top, and lined up my second stencil that way. I went in with the chartreuse. Oh my god, you guys. Maybe somebody should go back and count how many times I misspeak or misspoke, and tell me in the comments below how many times it was. After that's all dry, I'm going to line it up with the back panel, because this is going to be a shaker card. And I marked where that's going to be placed, that back panel, and then flipped it over and drew the outlines of the holly. And now I have my pattern paper pieces all cut up. Now, why did I cut it up, you say? Because it's a 6x6 pattern paper. So I, of course, had to make sure I had enough to go all the way across the 8 1/4 inches. I adhered acetate to our front windows. I already have my double height foam tape on the front panel, and now I'm just filling it with iridescent snowflakes, teal snowflakes kind of, because there was some teal in some of the pattern paper. I believe I put in some green and pink jewels. Yep. And I made sure those were upside down, so you would see the pretty part of the jewel when it was shaking. And after we have all our jewels in there and our seed beads, we're going to peel all the backing off. I am going to add some Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to the back of my foam tape. And then we're going to line up and adhere our back panel to the front panel. Once that's all done, I have the Sentiment Jolly Holidays to You and Yours from the Bunny Christmas stamp set. And I stamped that out on the same paper that's behind my shaker windows. And that's it for this video, guys. I hope you like the 4 cards you saw here today. Don't forget to check out Instagram for new inspiration every day, and the Rabbit Hole Designs Facebook group. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next video. Bye-bye for now, guys.